So welcome to this tutorial. I'm going to show you how you should present your statistics or your statistical analysis in your chapter 4. So already, first thing to note is that before you go ahead, you should have had a sample size which represents the number of people who are actually answering your questionnaire. So which must have already been mentioned in your chapter 3 based on those who actually answered your questionnaire. So start by presenting chapter 4, presentation of analysis of data. Okay, this chapter is concerned with the presentation of data button on the field for questionnaire. Okay, so the data will be presented with the use of tables and charts, as well as analysis and interpretation using SPSS. So you that you're not using SPSS, then you will remove this part. So on your own side, you say as well as analyze and interpreted with MS Excel. So you are using Excel in case, for example, you are not using SPSS. So you mentioned the number of copies which were given out. So once you have the number of copies, so for example, I'm going to quickly take a questionnaire. So it's a questionnaire that was given. We have the demographic information. So it means that after this presentation, you take 4.1, which is the presentation of the findings and the findings related to demographic data, which will then represent your demographic information. So how do you present it? So what you do is that you start by giving where is it? You start by introducing the section, and then for every question, please, there are things that you should not do. Like I'm just going to pick up something like this, which is what I don't actually want you to work to do, which are actually some mistakes in the presentation of statistical data. So as you can see immediately after this, I can see a mistake here. There is no introduction between this and this. There is completely nothing. Don't do this. Don't do this. You cannot just do this way and see how nasty the information is. It's not really nice to look. So what you do is something like this. You introduce. After introducing, if the first item in your questionnaire, for example, is gender, you had already here as a question in your questionnaire, what is your gender? Female, male. Okay, so when you get here, you don't say what is your gender. No, that was in your questionnaire. So here you just write gender. From here, you then introduce the table to gender. Please don't just put gender and start putting the information. You introduce the table for gender. So you say this item investigates the gender of the respondent, and the findings are presented in table 1, gender of respondent. So table 1, gender of respondent. So you are not here saying something like what is your gender. So from here, this is how you present statistical tables. Don't do something like this. This is nice, but it is not presented as a statistical table. So I would not want to have something like this. I want to have something like this, very nice looking. So how do you create a table like this? Already you can see there are 3 columns here. There's 1 column for the item itself. So for those questions or for those statements in your questionnaire that will be long, you can just put your element. At this level, you can just put your element. So from here, let me just expand this. From here, you put the frequency. The frequency should represent the number of respondents for each option. And here, these are the percentages. So we'll go to Excel and see how to automate this. But for now, how do you insert a table? So let me just put a table here so it shows you. So for me to insert a table, I'll go to insert, and from insert I'll see a table. So table, now these are the number of columns. I can add the number of rows, for example, and the number of columns. As you can see, I've added 4 rows and 3 columns. So when I have it this way, good. So from here I can write, for example, element, or here I can write a frequency, and here I can write a percentage. Percentage. So from here you can see this table is not presented as a statistical table, so I'll have to adjust it. So I'll select the whole table. I'll come to this small icon here. I click on it to select the whole table. So let me show you something again. You will also notice that some tables here on the wrong way of presenting. You see some tables are large, some tables are smaller, some tables are smaller in length and in width and so on, just because it is not well prepared. So when I get here, I select all the table. So I can come at the level of table source, design, then here I have borders. So if I don't see it here, still on the home the icon or the home menu, I can still have it here, but I can still have it under design table I come here borders, I'll say no border first, because this is my table. Let me just come back. This my table was done as such because here I will have total, then here I will have total actually. So I'll come here, I'll take here no border. Remember here I selected just four rows, 1 2 3 4, because actually I'm just presenting this type of data which will have actually 4 rows. So I get here, I come and I take no borders. So I'll then stand at this end, the border at the bottom, and put the border at the top. Then stand on the last line like this, put the border at the bottom, then put the border at the top. Nice. So that is how I need to present it. From there now I can put the different elements like male, female, and so on. So in this case I'm just going to copy this. So let's say this is my data. I've just copied with Ctrl+. Let's say this is my data. I have male, female, and these are the frequencies. I can just come in an Excel file. Let me just come here. So let's say I have imputed these informations at this level. So I can just copy the whole of this table. I'll copy with Ctrl+C, or let me just come to the home page, take copy. I'll come here, my bin, my Excel file. I'll paste it, my bin with Ctrl+V. So I need the percentages. So already here I'll have the total of the frequency, meaning the number of respondents. I can just sum everything. I can just sum these two values. So here I can get a percentage. For me to get a percentage, I need to get a percentage of this guy over the total population. So I'll say this divided by the total population. Then I'm going to put this. I'm going to make the total population to be fixed by putting $sign. So from here I then take it down. And here, since it is showing the percentage already in percentage, I can just come here and put it in percentage. So either I allow the percentages here, or I put here percentage, then I just put percentage by this side and remove the percentage symbol here. So next time when I will just change, for example, the sample, the frequency, say this is 12 and this is 16, you'll notice that it is all doing great. So I'll just come here and auto fill towards the right, so that this is going to give me in percentage to 100. So that's nice. So what I'll do is that I'll then copy this information. I'll copy with Ctrl+C, then come back in here, and I'll have to paste it in here. Actually, when pasting it might put some errors, but however I'm pasting nice. So when I paste it, you see it is disordered. It is disordered. First of all, I'll select the whole table. If, for example, you notice that the table is not well organized, like say it is something like this, now we will not like to have something like this. So if your table is like this, you come here, when you click until it selects all here, you right click and you take auto fit to window, and here you can say auto fit to content. So as for me, I'm just going to take auto fit to window, so that it should auto fit to window. Then I can come here and reduce again, so that should just be normal. So all your tables, once you auto fit them to window like this. So I'm right clicking, actually I'm making a right click to fit to window. It's going to fit to the window. Then what I'll do is that I'll come on these two columns and the center, then I put them at the center, for example. So this is how you need to present your data. Very clean, very clean. So that's exactly the same way I did with this data. So if I don't want, for example, the percentages, I can remove it from here. Please, if you put frequency percentage and you put a cumulative percentage, make sure you comment on the cumulative percentage. On your table, don't put information you will not comment. So here I'll just remove this because I've already done it down there. I'm just going to select all and then delete the table. So after presenting it this way, I will then have to go to the source. I'll just say field work, source field work 20 whatsoever. If it's 2023, I put here 2023 or 2021 or whatsoever. Then now you see the structure. After the source, you then interpret the table. So you say as presented as table 1. Please don't just say as presented above. Don't say as presented above. There are many aboves. So say as presented in table that you just mentioned above, like table 1. The findings reveals that 50% of the respondents are male, white. This shows both males and females are equally involved in entrepreneurship based on the topic this research work is based on. So after the table, you can represent your data in the form of a chart. If you want to represent it in the form of a chart, what you do is that you select the table you want to present it in the form of a chart for the frequency, for example. So before you present it in the chart, you make sure that you introduce the chart. These informations in table 1 is diagrammatically represented in figure 1. Please don't do something like this. going to do something like this. You will not just finish with the source without interpreting. You just begin to put the figure. You've not introduced the figure. So after the table, you put the source. Before the source, you interpret. After interpreting, you introduce the figure. After introducing the figure, you put the figure. After the figure, you put the title to the figure. Something like that. So I'm just going to open this. Here's it. So yeah, I introduced the figure. So now here I put the figure. So this figure was actually produced from SPSS. But if you're not using SPSS, you can use you can just select the data and produce the figure here. So I'll just select this. I'll just select this because this is my data. I'll come to insert and I will go to charts. And in charts, I'll produce my figure. Before I produce the figure, you need to make sure that the type of figure you're producing depends on the type of data. If you have a data with two variables, with two informations like this, then you produce a pie chart. But if you have more than two, if you have more than two variables, then you will want to produce a bar chart. Okay, so like for example, this is a mistake. This has three variables, and the person is producing a pie chart. It's not preferable to use a pie chart in this case. In this case, it's preferable to use a histogram. So I'll then select the data, knowing that this is two lines. I'm going to come here and I take pie chart, and I select the way I want my pie chart to look like. Then I take OK. So you see there was a little problem there. Let me just come back. Let me just close this and come back. So I'll select the data. Good. Come here to insert chart, select pie chart, and I take OK. So either I do this in here, or I could also go and present the data in MS Excel, but I will actually prefer to present it in here. So when I take a pie chart, okay, what actually happens is that let me come back. What actually happens is that I copy this data instead. So I'll copy this data because you see it presented the charts without the data. So I'll copy this data, maybe with copy here or Control C. I go and stand where I want to put the chart. I come to insert. I get to chart and I take pie chart. So I select the chart and I take OK. So when it creates the chart, it will just give a default chart, okay, with some default information. So what I'll do is that it comes with some sample data. So what I'll do is that I'll rather replace this with my own data. So the data I already copied, it from my my Word document. I'll come and paste it in here, and then I'm going to remove these two lines. I'm going to remove these informations in these two lines, for example. Good. So when you check on the chart now, you'll see it has just the two set of data. So that's fine. So from there I can close this. If I want to edit the content here, I think if I want to edit the chart information in terms of the frequency and everything, when I click on it, it will take me to the chart tools design. Here I'll have the possibility to take edit data. So when I take edit data, I can say edit data in Excel. It is going to open back the Excel file where the data was. So if I don't want to say edit in Excel, when I click on it, for example, I take edit data, I just take edit data. The little table is going to appear there where I can have the possibility to edit the data of this chart. So you see, if for example here is instead for example 12, you will see immediately as I change, it is changing the chart. So here I'm going to put back 14. So all what is left is now for you to design the chart the way you want it to be. So you might want to have the same size of your chart, or you can have it this way. You can come here and specify the way you want your chart to look like, whatever the way. But I'll advise you to can do something like this. You can put maybe the frequencies on it, depending on how you want it to look like. So if I select something like this, the frequency now, instead of writing the frequency, it's going to be the heading, which is gender. But I don't possibly need to have a heading again because I've already introduced it, that this table is going to talk about the gender. So this, I could remove it. I could remove this, or I could come to designs and make in such a way that it shows me something without header. Yeah, might be just something like this. Then I come here and add. I add, for example, the frequencies. If I want, for example, to make in such a way that it should be in portions, like a portion of a gig, I click on it and I drag something like this. Please, I get to it, I get to the chat, then click out of the chat, I get to the chat. When I click, I don't allow my mouse, and I specify how I want it to be. So this is nice for me. You will see that, you notice that the chat has borders. So I'll click on it, and I'll take or I can double click on it so that the format chat area should appear. At the level of borders, I'll say no line at the borders, so that when I'm here, it should not show borders. If I give my chat a size, something like this, then I want all the other chats to have the same size. From here, I can centralize it. If I've made it to have a particular size, then I'll make in such a way that all of them should have the same size. Let me check in that format. So here is where you can check on the size. If I'm, for example, making such a way that all my chats should have the size in terms of the length 7, and in terms of the width, for example, 13. Let me say 14 years. So say 13, for example. Okay, we'll just put it this way. So I'll just make sure that all of them are uniform. Then yeah, I think it's fine. From here, yeah. From here, if I'm removing this, for example, I'll remove the whole space that is keeping it down like this. Remove the whole space so that it should look much more richer. Okay, so from here I then put the source. I put the source of the data. After the source of the data, I then give the name of the chat, say figure 1 gender. Then I then come here, as earlier presented in table 1, the findings of figure 1 reveals that. So after presenting the figure, I also interpret the figure. Okay, so this is a presentation, the gender. I introduce the table, I put the table heading, I put the table itself, the source. I interpret the table, I introduce the chat, I bring up the chat, I source it, I give the name of the chat, then I introduce the chat. Same thing, you will notice age, same thing, right? Put everything. Now you notice here that there are three informations. So from here you will notice that the three informations are now presented instead in a bar chart, which is pretty much more better. So what do I do? As you can see in here, you see this is not really good looking. So if I have a table like this, I better right click on it and take auto fit to a window, so that it should auto fit to window. Then I'll come on it, remove all borders, put borders at the bottom, put borders at the top, and take this last line, put borders at the bottom, put borders at the top. So when I have something like this, it's nice. Now in terms of the data, I just need to take it maybe to Excel, because if I have, for example, my questionnaire like this, so I have this information, this statement, and here are the number of respondents who agreed, who strongly agreed, who disagreed, and who strongly disagreed. So all I will do is that I'll go draw a table. So I'll carry this information, I'll copy this, right? Let's say I just put it in here. So after the demographic information, I'll now have a descriptive statistics of variables. So I'll then introduce the first variable, the first independent variable that is in my first specific objective, just like you also presented it in the form of your questionnaire. So I'll take this variable, introduce the variable in here, then I then put the different tables for each of the variables. So don't mind this, this is more of a statistical analysis with SPSS. So what I'll do is that if I put, for example, this way, I'll call this, for example, table 7. So from there, I'll then come up with the data. So I'll come up with the table, or I could also copy an existing table. Like for example, I can copy a table that I've already arranged. I come here, I paste it. Yeah, good. So from here I can add a new line. So from here I can remove this and instead put something like strongly agreeing, strongly disagreeing, and disagreeing. So you will want to instead spell this out. So so what I do is that I go to Excel, for example, my Excel file. So I have the strongly agree, or I could copy it from here like this, so that I get here and I place it this way, for example. So from here I'll have to put the different informations. Let me just remove this. So I'll have to put here the number of people who agreed, disagreed, and so on. So say 8 here, 2 here, 2 here, 10 here. How many is left? 3. This is 20. Okay, my sample size is 28, for example. Let me just remove these borders. So from here, can center 8, for example. So here I'll just say equals this divided by the total, which is here, and I block the total. Or if you can actually get it without any problem, fine. So I'm just going to sum the total values here. Good, which is 28. So as a result, I'll autofill this to the right, good, and autofill this downward, good, so that I can also put percentage here. So you see, I'm done with this. I'll just copy it from here. As I copy it from here, I'll come here. As I paste it here, it's going to look bizarre. You see, it's going to look kind of bizarre. So I'll start by making it such a way that everything here has the same color. It did not paste well. Let me just check on it again. So as I get here to paste, I can paste only values. Yeah, I can paste only values so that it should not get me mad. So I'll select all the table. I'll make sure that the information type is okay. I will give the spacing, for example, to be 1.5, which is nice. I'm going to remove all space after paragraph. Please look at how it is first. When I come to this object here, I'll take remove space after paragraph. You see, it readjusts it. Then I'll come here, select this, and insert the center. You see, my data is fine. So what I do is that I just select this, copy. I get to the next one, for example. I'm just taking an example. I'll just paste it. Get to the next table. Impute their information, might be from Excel that must have calculated the percentages, and I just keep on interpreting, but still presenting according to the order to make it actually look good. So that is it. On each of your tables, you will want to make in such a way that at the end of the day, you have the possibility to present or to come up with your list of table and the list of figures. When it comes to your demographic information, you can present table and figure, but when it comes to the descriptive statistics for each of the variables, you must not present both table and figure because they all represent the same thing. So here you can just present tables and interpret, or you can just present charts and interpret. Not forcibly need to present a table and a chart at the same time. Again, I'm already talking about descriptive statistics, meaning the second part, which will have each of your variables. You can just present the table without a chart and interpret the table in question. So at the end, for you to have your good table of content or your list of tables, so remember, in terms of the table, in order to make it automatic, I'll not have to write this table 1 manually, please. Else at the end of the day, to come up with your list of tables, it's kind of going to be hard. Just like we already have this for the table of contents, but we equally need the list of tables and the list of figures. So what I will need to do is, instead of having this, I'll just remove this. Actually, I'll stand here at the beginning, meaning each time what I do is that I come to reference and I take a insert caption. So I decide based on whether it is a figure or a table. So if it's a figure, I select figure so that I can be able to produce a list of figures. If it's a table, I put table. Then I'll just take OK. So you see it right there, table. So from here, I will have to kind of edit and make it look like what it's supposed to look like. So might be black, size 12, and so on. So in this case, I'll just do something like this. So in this case, you see this is table 1, but as you can see, this one is it's automated. You see, when I get to the next table, or if I get to this figure, instead of having figure 1 here, I'll come under reference. I'll take insert caption. I'll make sure that this is a figure, and I take OK. So after that, I can then modify the content. 12, good. So I get here instead of table 2 like this manually. I'm going to remove this and instead comes to insert caption. Here I'm talking about a table. I take OK. As you see, it has automatically detected this as being table 2. So from there, I can select all of these, edit this to 12, normal, good. So as you can see, I'll equally do same here for the last time. You can do that for the whole of your work. So I'll take a figure, it will automatically detect that is figure 2. I take OK. I do same. So from here, good. So when it will be time for me to come up with my list of tables and list of figures, it will be much more easier. So if I get a new page and I, for example, say here list of tables, for example. So if I say list of tables here, let me say this is going to stand in the middle, and if it's going to be bold and something like this. So I'll stand here, I'll get to reference, and I'll take insert table of figures. So here I mentioned whether I'm creating the list of table or the list of figures. So I'm going to say, for example, list of tables. Then from here I'll come to modify and make sure that the style is actually OK Times New Roman. If it is not, I'll come here and modify and make my style to be Times New Roman, font size 12, justify line spacing and everything. If everything is fine, good. So from here I just take OK and I take OK. You will see OK, automatically my list of tables is going to appear. Same way, if I create a new page, for example, and I call this page a list of figures, for example, if I make this, for example, here at the center, say bold, say bigger. So from here, if I can come to reference and insert a table. Now here I'm mentioning that it is not a table but a figure. I make sure that the style, everything is fine, Times New Roman 12, good. So from here I take OK, and you will see the list of figures will appear. At this point in time, if it happens that I add a new table in my automation, like table 3 was not automated, so if it happens that there is a new table, so if I remove this and I come here, insert caption, and I mention that this is going to be the next table, say table 3, and I say OK, then I modify this, for example. So you'll then notice that this is a new table that has been added. But if you check, for example, on your list of tables, you don't yet see table 3 because we have added a new table. So what I would like to do, I'll right click on it and I take update fields. So they will ask whether I want to update page numbers only, update entire table. I'll say update page numbers. I'll take OK. Field entire table. Okay, I take update entire table, and from there you will see you add a new table under its location. So at the end, when you're done editing, for example, the data, you just get there to your list of tables and you update it. This, if I update it now, there will be no update because I've not added or changed the position of a figure. So if I go, for example, to figure 3 and I make this to be a figure 3, for example, add caption, I make it to be a figure, for example, figure 3, good. When I will get I'll get up there, for example, to prepare my list of figures, I will just right click and take update entire table, and I think OK, you'll notice that table 3 is already automatically there with the number, however. So that is how you can build everything up and make your work actually easier. So if you have any question, you can leave in the comment of the video. Thank you.